So in the last video, we worked on the pieces spawning, but there's a kind of a bug right now. When it spawns in on top of each other, they just kind of fall out of the board. So to fix that, we're going to first start by going to the prefabs and selecting both of these. I'll just select one for now. And down here, the rigid body tab does all the physics for our game, and it shows some other stuff like speed, velocity, and all these other variables. Quick example of trying to figure out what we want to do to fix it. So we don't want it to move on this z-axis because we just want it to go up and down on the y-axis, so no z-axis or x-axis. So we're going to freeze x and y right there. Actually, here, do it on select this object. Make sure you select this object, because if you only change it on this object, this is the one that's in the game. This is like a copy of this. And if you just change this one, then it won't actually change it when you spawn it in. You want to make sure you're on the original to change it. So we want to constrain the x and y. And we also don't want this object to rotate. We just want it to go straight up and down. So we're going to also check all of these. And then just do the same thing for these. So now I'm just going to delete this real quick. And when we press play, we'll see what happens. So this one goes down. Okay, so now it's not falling out. Now the other piece is going through the other one. And let's see if I go like this. Yeah, so some weird stuff's still happening. Let's see, to fix this, to fix the next problem, we're going to want to drag and drop this one again. And this time I'm going to change the piece a different way. So this box collider, I'm pretty sure it's a bug with Unity. I don't think it's necessarily like a feature or anything, but if I spawn both these pieces on top of each other and go like this, you can see that they should line up and fall on top of each other, but if this box collider is too short, then it won't recognize it and it'll just go straight through the other piece. So that's the problem here, so we actually need to make this box a bit bigger. So if we go to this one, we're going to go to Edit Collider and we want to change the Z-axis. So we're going to change it from its default and just move it up a bit. Move it up to like 0.3. And that's not a problem because you might think, well, it's going to be too big and it's going to fill up the whole board, but the board doesn't actually have a collider on it. So when this falls down, it will not actually affect it. Like the players won't see any of this and it fixes the problem. So, and if you're not doing, if you're not affecting this object itself, but you want this one to become this one to like apply it, you go to this tab where it says overrides and you're going to want to click apply all on the bottom. And then now if you go down here, it changes the value. And I'm just going to go over here and quickly change this one's value too. So let's see if that fixes another problem. Okay, this looks better. Oh, there's another thing I just noticed. So you can't click on this column, and it's not because the column's full, it's just that the box colliders for the input are actually behind the board. So when you're actually clicking on these pieces itself, which you want to be clicking on the inputs. So if we go back to the input fields, we just need to drag this in front. And now that should fix everything. So if I just spawn these in real quick. Yeah, now you can keep spawning the pieces in. I mean, it'll look kind of funny. And these pieces are only going through each other because it's like spawning inside of the piece. Okay, so this is looking good for now. Okay, so this is the other problem. So when the pieces are right next to each other, they kind of like lock in. So that is mostly because when you spawn in, say, two pieces again, these pieces are sliding, these pieces are going to be really close together, and this thing is actually going to be 0. So say if it's like this, and then sometimes there'll be a little bit of a gap in the middle, or it'll be a little bit of overlap, so it'll just kind of like stick to the other piece. So to fix that problem, we're just going to go down to the x-axis and just change this to like a 0.9. Just make it a bit skinnier, and then we won't have that problem again. So here, apply all, and then we also want to change it on this one. You can also drag and drop it in and change it and apply, but since I already know the value, it's easier just to do that. Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay, yeah. Okay, it's working, and there's like a little bit of a bounce too. That's kind of just like the physics engine because it's kind of squishing them together. You can kind of see it a little bit. I mean, that's a kind of cool feature that we didn't actually intend to do. Oh, that's another. I think the box collider is too far up because I'm clicking like right there, and it's spawning it in this column. So just to adjust this one more time, gonna move it back right in front of it. And then just make sure that it's not inside the pieces box collider, but really close to it. So now open up Visual Studios again, go to Game Manager, and we're gonna change it so one piece it changes based on the player's turn. This so it switches, it alternates. And we're not going to be using this update function, so I'm just going to get rid of it. So it's get rid of that space, and this one I also like to just get rid of because it's kind of weird. They leave that statement in every time you open a new project, but you only really need it if you haven't used Unity in a while or something. So now we're just going to create a bool. I like to put my public ones below here. So we can just put it here. Gonna call it player 1 turn. And we'll set this equal to true. So then when it's just player's 1 turn, we'll spawn a red piece, and when this is false, we'll spawn a yellow piece, or the player 2 piece. So now in here, in the take turn function, we're going to say if player 1, oh, this should be a capital T. Just get the names to match up. So if it's player 1 turn, you can also say equals true. But if you've coded before, you can just say if player 1 turn, same thing. Player 1 turn, we're going to want to instantiate this piece. And then we can just say else. And we're going to copy this line and change this to player 2. And this will work. Now we just need to change the player's turn every single time it goes through this. So at the end of this, well, there's 2 ways to do it. You can either say right here, you just say player 1 turn. I think I'll do it this way just because it's a bit easier to understand. Turn equals false. And I'm just going to copy this again. True. There's another way where you can say it doesn't, you can also do it like this. Player 1 turn. That's another way to do it, and then you just get rid of these lines. But I feel like this is a bit more confusing. But if you understand this line, then you can use this instead of these 2. Yeah, so right here, it's going to set it equal to false if it's here, and then set it equal to true. So let's see if we save this and go back into Unity and press play. Yeah, it's changing the color of the piece. And you can almost play Connect 4 right now. Like there's still a few bugs, like if I double click, then it'll spawn two in at the same time, and it kind of glitches out because they're on top of each other. But for the most part, if you play normally and like have somebody else like take a few seconds to do each turn, and you can still play the game for the most part like it is on the board game. There's no like wind detection or anything, which we'll do that in this series, but it's at least functional right now. See? So that is it for this video. The next one we're going to be making a 2D int array to store all the pieces, and going to be doing just the setup for the pieces being stored inside the computer.